On today's EMJ PGA podcast, this is it. Masters Week is here, and this is our final podcast before the big tournament begins. We talk about all the big runners and riders heading into this week's golf, as well as making all of our predictions. As usual, this podcast does contain explicit language, but we hope you enjoy the podcast and you enjoy the golf this weekend. Hello and welcome to the EMJ PGA podcast. This is arguably our marquee episode of our short career as podcasters. Me and Ben have been coming on here most weeks since the end of January. I was going to say the middle of January. Since the end of January, we have been previewing, we have been reviewing PGA Tour events. We've also been throwing in little exercises as well to keep us entertained in preparation to kill the time, some would say, for this week right here. We are up bright and early, or behind the scenes, we are up bright and early. It is approximately 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning when we are recording this. But it is an absolutely unbelievable day, and it is giving us even more energy to talk about arguably the biggest event in the golfing calendar. Ben Hartshorn, good morning. And thank you for coming on the podcast. Are you looking forward to talking all things Masters for the next 45 minutes or so?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning. Absolutely buzzing. We're here. We've talked about it all season, but this is episode 21 of the podcast. And yeah, the ultimate episode. A lot of thinking to do, a lot of deciding to do. But yeah, we're finally here, and I hope everyone's excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. For those of you listening and following our social media, there's going to be plenty of live content, and we're going to confirm this after we've finished filming today, and maybe in the next couple of days. But hopefully, maybe even a live stream where me and Ben both are in the same room reacting to what's going on Sunday at the Masters. It might not be the whole time the Masters is on, but there'll definitely be some live stream content over the weekend, which I'm super looking forward to. As and when stuff happens, I will be on top of it and reacting and getting your guys' thoughts as well. And that's another thing. We want your thoughts. We want to be able to bounce off you guys and talk to you about who you think's gonna win the Masters. Again, what we said last week is people who don't have a clue about golf, or I say don't have a clue, they don't really care about golf. That's what I should say. They always like to pop in with their Masters predictions just once every year, and it's always interesting because sometimes they're better than mine, and they might still be this year. So if you have a prediction and if you have a thought on how this year's Masters is going to go, let us know, because we are going to let you know in just a few minutes' time. We're not going to waste any more time. We are going to get straight into a Masters preview and talk about all the sort of headlines and give you a appropriate build up. You're listening to this hopefully at some point on Wednesday. You've got about 24 hours to consume this podcast and think about what you are going to do, maybe with your hard-earned money going into this week. So let's talk the Masters, okay? First of all, the Masters. Is it the biggest event in golf? We sort of mentioned it a minute ago, but is this the marquee event? Like, if you had to win any event in the world, would you pick the Masters over maybe being part of a winning Ryder Cup team? I know that's a little bit different. Would you pick it over the Open? I know Ben's a massive fan of the US Open. Would you pick it ahead of all those things, Benjamin Hartshorn?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it almost gets bigger every year, and I think yeah, I think it's most history. It's the only place we go back to every single year. There's something unbelievably special about it. And I think it is the ultimate golf course, the ultimate challenge. And no one can tell me it's better than the Ryder Cup. Golf's an individual sport. You pick it when you're 3 years old to start playing because it's an individual sport. Ryder Cup, great being part of a team, but that individual accolade is why you play golf. And the Masters is the best you can get. So, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. And again, like, it's always interesting because the Open rolls around and we give it the big, here we go, the Open, the Open. And
Mm.
maybe because we're like engulfed in other golf stuff necessarily. We're in the middle of the golf season. It's July. Maybe there's other sporting events on. You've got Wimbledon on around that time of year. Obviously, this year it's going to be the World Cup as well. I reckon this is going to be one of the quietest opens in regards to that because again, all the attention's going to be on that, and I feel like April, the sporting world stands still and watches the golf for 1 week, and that's the big thing that you can kind of take away from the Masters is that, as I said a minute ago, a lot of casual golf fans who don't watch golf all year will tune in at some point this weekend, and if you can win that tournament, Jesus Christ, I mean, that is unbelievable.
Mm.
It's probably we do put it on arguably a bigger pedestal than we do our own championship over here in the UK. But no, I completely agree. It would be the crown jewel. I'm a massive fan of the Open, but it probably would just snatch away from the Open's crown of biggest thing that you can win. We had an unbelievably dramatic and entertaining Masters last year, and kind of like a full circle moment because it's exactly a year ago today or this week, Ben, that we started to do like the live streams and we started to sit
Yeah.
here and preview the Masters and we said we were going to do it for all the majors. That is a year ago. That year has flown by and it feels like only a few months ago that McIlroy was riding the roller coaster of all roller coasters when it comes to golf events. Um, what a Masters it was last year. And this is the annoying thing, is that I feel like we've got a lot of living up to do. I mean, the few years before that, really since Tiger won, we had a few relatively run-of-the-mill, drama-free golf tournaments. And last year was just absolute chaos. And that kind of leads into my prediction a little bit, just because I want to see more chaos. I want to predict more chaos. Chaos. I want to to root for more chaos. But last year, unbelievable. As the resident McIlroy hater, um, how did you enjoy last year's Masters tournament?
Last year was amazing. I think the Ryder Cup came close to like the best final day of golf, but the Masters was amazing, and McIlroy did some unbelievable things. Like I did want McIlroy to win in the end because it was so hard work to watch. It was so up and down. So in the end, it was a relief, and I think it was a relief for the whole sporting world that he did it. Um, but entertaining, people in the mix, people throwing it away, amazing shots, amazing rounds of golf throughout the week. Obviously, yeah, absolutely incredible, and it was better than the final day of the Ryder Cup. And as you were just sort of mentioning there, will it be that entertaining this year? I hope it is. And my thinking last night was, oh no, I think it'll be boring this year. But then I think of like what's been happening in every PJ Tour event going into this, and how leaders going into final days aren't winning, and how people seem to be buckling a little bit under the pressure, even at small PJ Tour events. What's going to happen whoever's leading to the final day of the Masters? So I think this year could tee off again in the final couple of days.
Yeah, I agree. And you add a couple of names to that final round on Sunday at the top of the leaderboard, and I feel like chaos will ensue, and that's what I am rooting for. Fingers crossed. We will come on to what we think is going to happen in just a few minutes. We obviously had a good Masters last year, but what's your favourite Masters ever? I know obviously we've got a pool of maybe 7 or 8 masters for you, probably for yourself, 8 or 9 maybe masters where you've tuned in maybe start to finish and properly been indulged in it even. But I'll let you pick from any masters in history, even ones that you might not have watched live. Do you have a favourite masters where you think, wow, that was incredible?
Uh, it's a good question. I don't think you can look past 2019 Tiger. I genuinely think that's probably the first Masters I watched. I do remember sitting there and watching that. Not I wasn't necessarily into golf that much, and I'm sure that was amazing for you hardcore golf fans. I enjoyed Rahm winning in 2023, even though he beat Brooks. Yeah, he beat Brooks that year. But I remember being hard on that, watching that. But no, I think you have to go the Sandad to watch of Tiger winning it in 2019. That's the one like look back on the most, I think. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
Tiger 2019. What do you think?
I mean, I genuinely think last year runs it close. Like, I
Yeah.
genuinely think last year runs it close. That I saw a post this week and it was like, oh, the 5 most popular Masters wins, and they put like Phil in 2004 at number 1, and I was like, what? Like, what
Mm,
the heck's going on there? Like, Tiger in 2019 was absolutely crazy, um,
mm,
and I'm so glad that I was able to sort of watch that because again, there was years growing up where I didn't think I'd see that. It was all sort of it was all growing up off of watching Tiger on YouTube and doing that.
Mm,
It wasn't really one of those ones where I thought I'd ever see it in live, you know. So that was incredible. But the actual flow of the golf tournament, what happened? There was quite a lot of chaos in the final round in 2019. Um, but I genuinely think McIlroy's wins it close. And I couldn't actually pick
mm,
between last year and 2019, and then the years before that, we've got Spieth derailing and Danny Willett picking up the Masters. I was looking at the Champions Dinner photos the other day, and just seeing Danny Willett in there just always makes me laugh a little bit. And you always throw in that curveball, and we're going to mention him later on in the podcast because I'm going to sanction him as one of someone who I might or might not be picking, but. Players like Mike Weir, Trevor Immelman picking up Masters. You know, it's not one of these things where, okay, the elite cream of the crop always rise to the top here at the Masters. And that's kind of what I love about it. Yes, I know you'll sort of lose your fucking shit if like someone not in the top 20 like comes through next week. But like I kind of like that aspect of it. And um, like again, every Masters. I remember, I think it was 2018 ago. Jonas Blixt, who we haven't really heard of since. He had a good year or so afterwards, but Jonas Blixt was up there. You know, you have a good run from an amateur every now and again. I just absolutely love how open it can be sometimes, while also obviously predominantly the big names always rise to the top. So yeah, no, I'm probably going to take a tie between last year and 2019 because I last year was just absolutely ridiculous. And
mm.
okay, I'm a bit more invested into McIlroy, and it may be that little bit more entertaining. But still, the amount of twists and turns, even as you said, it was probably hard work for you watching. It was hard work for my heart rate watching it as well. So hopefully something similar this year. And we need someone, a fan's favourite, to get in the mix so that we can sort of feel those emotions again. We can go through those potential runners and riders in just a moment. There's a couple of fan favourites, so-called fan favourites, that are not going to be here this week, and that is a bit of a shame because when we think of Masters, like you said a couple of weeks ago, we were doing our five favourite things about the Masters. You correctly put in there watching Tiger tee it up, watching Tiger plod his way round the golf course, watching Tiger fight to make the cut. There'll be no fighting, there'll be no limping, there'll be no worrying from us this week, unfortunately, about Tiger Woods. Again, a statement coming out from himself and subsequently the PGA Tour. He's taking a step away from the game, and again, I mean, how many times have we heard this? But taking a step away from the game, looking to get himself on the straight and narrow. That kind of is a bit weird to me because that kind of opens up on other issues which we won't get into today. He kind of almost admits he's got other issues away from the week before last antics. Um, so no Tiger this year. You gutted about it?
Yeah, absolutely. It always adds a different element having Tiger Woods then, the excitement and the attention. And often you sort of like worry about Tiger the first two rounds and not look at the rest of the leaderboard. And then you sort of think, oh, there's another tournament going on here. Not if Tiger can sort of break par, which is always the challenge for what we're watching. So, no, I do think he was, even after he got arrested, he was going to play the Masters. And I think he's got advised to say, no, you need to make yourself look like you need to sort yourself out a little bit. I think, yeah. I mean, as Tiger Woods got other issues, absolutely, of course he does, and he's probably never actually sorted them since back in the day. Um, so yeah, little bit worrying for Tiger, but but yeah, I think we need to try and focus on the rest of the tournament little bit more. But God, he's not here. Yeah, but God, he's not here.
Yeah, we're gonna move swiftly on from absentees to names that are carrying the flag of the tournament, really, and there are big enough names
Mm,
there for us to get excited about, and just hopefully they're all in and around it come Sunday. I know it's sometimes hard to ask, but the best players in the world are still doing a really really good job for the game, I think, and
mm,
even the ones that maybe a lot of us can't accept are doing a good job of carrying the flag for the game. They're interesting to watch nonetheless. So yeah, I do think that we're going to have a good Masters without Tiger. We did last year, and there's no reason why we can't do it again this year. I'm really really looking forward to it. Not the only absentee because we've got to touch on him again and what a big name within golf, Phil Mickelson. I mean, Phil Mickelson, you could argue, has always been in Tiger's shadow to somewhat of a degree, and it's harsh to be able to take this cheap shot at him. But again, like very similar reasons by the sounds of it for Phil. Again, Phil's not been the maybe role model individual for golfers and young golfers growing up. Again, if you know anything about Phil Mickelson and his personal life, he'd probably enjoy this podcast, the second half of this podcast, especially, or he would have done. But not this year. Not this year. He'll be sitting watching from afar. Some personal reasons why he's not teeing it up this week. Again, Phil Mickelson is kind of like a token character. You've got your past champions in there who, again, it brings that little bit of history and that little bit of nostalgia to the tournament every year. But Phil Mickelson won't be part of that again this year. Thoughts on Phil Mickelson? Because we've never really spoke in depth about Phil Mickelson. He kind of had his que sera moment, very similar to Tiger in 2019, a couple of years after at the PGA Championship, and that was one of the coolest events I think I've ever seen. I mean, for him to win that there, again,
Mm.
golf's not like any other sport. Really, players that are on their way out can roll back the clock or find it very difficult. Golf, you're obviously able to do that, but still, it takes some doing. And Phil Mickelson's had some marquee moments in the history of golf. He's not teeing it up this week. And what are your thoughts on Phil Mickelson? Are you a Phil Mickelson fan? Are you a bit against him?
Yeah, Phil Mickelson. Yeah, I am. I am. I think seeing that in 2019 at the Ocean Course at,
You're right.
where is it? Anyway,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah, sorry, yeah. Seeing him win that sort of made me think, oh my God, who is this guy? Because I didn't know as much about him. Always enshrined as Tiger's shadow. That's why he's probably like he's got some interesting opinions, and he's obviously got. I think someone's ill in his family. I think he's gone through a lot of sort of heartache over the years. I think his wife was very ill, wasn't it, back in the day? But he's picked up majors throughout the decades, and again, yeah, a very, very, very special golfer. Probably a more talented golfer than Tiger Woods. If anyone knows anything about Phil Mickelson, and like the best short game probably we've ever seen. Not being at the Masters, I mean, he is a bit of a token there, but he came second in 2023. He had an unbelievable
Yeah.
Sunday and came second to Rahm. So he has got something to give Mickelson. He hasn't been great the last few years, and he doesn't do much on live. But again, these guys like your Fred Couples, like your Mickelsons and Tiger sometimes can go low around Augusta. It's that sort of course that allows that. So shame not to see him there. He is a big name. He's obviously unbelievable, I think, big personality on the tour. Um, but yeah, it's a shame not seeing those two there. I mean, this is the first Masters one, like they say, like 30 years that not either of them are there. So it's a little bit strange.
Yeah. We have like the opening ceremony where I imagine Gary Player's going to do it again this year, and
Mm,
I don't know who else would really join him. Tom Watson potentially, and they get us started on Thursday morning. It's going to be one of those when we're 50-year-old
mm,
blokes or 40-year-old blokes, and we're seeing them like open us up on the Sunday morning. Hopefully, Tiger can stand up by this point,
yeah.
but those guys will get us started on Thursday morning, and it's always nice to be able to see them there again. That's what we love about the Masters, the past champions, and unfortunately, they won't be there this year, but hopefully we will see them both next year. And as you said, sometimes we forget that there's a tournament going on. It's just massive game of Tiger versus the par, and we
Mm,
don't have to worry about that this year.
mm,
We can look down the leaderboard, and Ben will be looking down the leaderboard to maybe throw some shade at them come next Monday. And I'm keen to hear about that. I'm keen for that. I don't think many people will be throwing shade by the end of the week at Scotty Scheffler, especially in regards to our Flop of the Week awards, which we give out to the most underperforming player of the week. I don't think we'll be giving flop of the week to Scotty Scheffler, although it's an argument to be had because he set his expectations so high and he set the bar and the standards for his game so high that it felt like he's just kind of dropped below that a little bit. I mean, again, if Scotty's not in the top 10 and got a chance come the last couple of hours on Sunday, it feels like, oh, okay, he's had a poor week, which is ridiculous to think about. Um, but Scotty Scheffler heads into this year's Masters tournament as the favourite again. He's already won it 2 times. I famously remember in 2022, he came off the back of winning in Phoenix, especially in a couple of other tournaments. And I said to myself, he was just bursting on the scene, and I said, Scotty Scheffler will not win this week. Like, it's too soon for him. It's all this, and he ended up proving me massively, massively wrong. So me betting against Scheffler this week, I do it with caution. Ben, what do you reckon to Scheffler's chances this week?
I think very good. I think very. I was thinking about it yesterday. He 22 won his first Masters, come sort of burst onto the scene. 23 didn't win, and but went close. I think about the top 10, might have been top 5. 23, 24 won, 25 again, top 10, and gave it a go. So is it set up for him again? Yeah, he's only won one PGA Tour event this year. He has played well. He hasn't had a great last 2, 3 weeks. He's just had a child. Is this made for Scotty Scheffler to win with his new baby again on the 18th green? I think he's going to give it a good go. I don't know if he'll have enough because he has been spraying it a little bit, so it's difficult. I think that he'll get on a run, and will his run be enough? I don't know, but if he starts the week well, which he hasn't been doing, I think he's got an unbelievable chance, and he knows how to win around Augusta. In his very young career, he already is. He's already a veteran, a genius around Augusta National. So yeah, I'd put money on him.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Max Homer in a press conference basically saying about how he saw on Twitter that someone called Scheffler boring, and he said, "Well, if I was the best player in the world and I wanted to be the best player in the world by as much as I can or as much as you possibly could, then it probably would look a bit boring in that sense." Um,
Mm,
and again, we want entertainment as long as someone challenges Scheffler. I don't mind if he picks up another victory. I mean, again, it would be historical. Three Masters is an unbelievable feat. Again, when he strolls to victory, sometimes it takes the fizz out the tournament a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see. But he's one of these characters, into if you see if you see him on that first page of the leaderboard going into Saturday, you're like, oh no, this is likely only going to end one way. So I feel like the first couple of days are going to be massively important for Scotty Scheffler. And yeah, has he got the game right now to be able to do it? You mentioned it, he's been spraying it
mm.
a little bit. The tee to green has not been as good as it has been the last couple of years. Feels like his putting's taken a leap since he started working with Phil Kenyon, and it feels like he can definitely get on streaks of maybe holing the odd long one, which is obviously important for momentum when you're out there trying to win a golf tournament. It seems like that, and he doesn't really make the hiccups that he used to do as often. So it feels like it's kind of flip flopped his game as of late, very slightly. And yeah, if he's anywhere near dialed in, this could be a problem for the rest of the field. It'll be interesting to see. He's not the next favourite on the list, but I feel like in size, and again, you might argue this size of the name. We've of course got to come on to our past champion. I am going to watch the Masters, his documentary today, about last year. Again, it's going to get me even more in the Masters themed mood for today. But Rory McIlroy heads into this week as defending champion, and just again, I saw him at the women's amateur at the weekend. Like just seeing him wearing the green jacket is still, I'm still trying to process it. The amount of like meme pages over in the States that just used to kill him. Like again, like I always remember like the yearly post from a well-known account that I'm sure you guys, if you're not following, feels like they've gone a little bit down the liberal sort of route and political route, PGA memes. But PGA memes growing up was just one of the best accounts. And you'd always see like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? And a kid goes, a dragon. And then like, what do you want for Christmas? And it's like, oh, Rory to win the Masters. And then he's like, oh, be realistic. And then the kid goes, oh, can I have a dragon, please? And then Santa goes, like, oh no, like have like basically I butchered that completely, but like basically just taking the mick out of him, like he's never going to win it. I'm trying. They'll come back to in a moment, but yeah. So I used to see that post on the regular, and he's won it. He's won it. So we are there now. And the thing about it as well is, whilst he's somewhat in his prime, once you've won a Masters, you can kick on. It's been proven, Scheffler, the most recent of players to really kick on since winning a Masters. So you feel like he's got a chance coming into this week. Performance-wise, it's been a bit so-so to start the year. It hasn't been anywhere near as much of a heater as it was last year. So where is our resident Rory McIlroy hater, Benjamin Hartshorn, heading into this week? Because we sort of came into it last year on similar sort of things of, oh, he's not going to do it, or this. It'll be interesting to see how he plays this week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think no way he wins this week. I think he'd do well. I do think he will make the cut, but I just it goes back to what we spoke about in the last podcast. By the way he won it, has he really sort of stamped on his demons and how to win a golf tournament and how to actually play consistent golf? I'm not sure he has. Everyone said, "Oh, McIlroy will win at least one major after the Masters last year," and he didn't get anywhere near. He did give it a go, didn't he, at the Open? I suppose ish. But yeah, no, I don't think Mac will get in there. I think being in the top 20 would be a good result. If he went and won it, it'd be incredible. But I think his major sort of tally is done. I don't think mentally he can get back up to that point. I think mentally it's been the hardest thing ever. Winning his fifth major. Um, yeah, I don't see it. I don't think he's, as I said, stamped on his demons. I don't think he can put 4 rounds of golf together that are going to be good enough. Can he get an absolute heater? Yes. I think he'll still look at like he's got the world on his shoulders because that's what he loves to do. He loves to play victim. He loves to look for sympathy, even though he's like top 10 richest athletes on the planet. So everything he'll try and do to give an excuse this week. I would think, but yeah, I don't want to see him win it either. But yeah, I don't see him doing much.
I Yeah, fair enough. I've kind of flipped. I've changed my mind on McIlroy as you were answering that. Because I was coming into this week thinking, but like, I've got to get away from this stereotypical mind of thinking like you win and then you drop a 40th place defense and stuff like that. Like, it's Rory McIlroy. And Rory McIlroy loved Augusta National. Like, again, he's been walking around that golf course with the world literally heaped on his shoulders, like you just said. But
Mm.
rightly so. I mean, that was the one missing piece for 10 years. And he's had to go round and basically just literally, if he doesn't win, it's a failure every single time he tees it up. I remember in 2023 when he holed out the bunker, or 2022 it might have been even, when he holed out the bunker to finish second, and like obviously you got the big celebration. It was kind of like, as a United fan, like Mourinho when we finished second and we were like 2,600 points behind City, and then Mourinho's giving it the big one, like, "Oh, this is my biggest achievement." And I remember at the time drawing comparisons because, like, obviously there's that much pressure on him. He didn't win, which we weren't really expecting him to, but to finish second kind of just shows you you were the best person who didn't win, and like that's kind of like a win in itself for McIlroy. And
Yeah.
now he's won it. I don't know. I feel like if there's a tournament where if there's a major that he's going to pick up again off the back of last year, I do think it's going to be another Masters tournament before anything else. I've got a weird feeling about that. So I've actually done a bit of a flip. I don't think he's going to win this week, but my goodness, I really, really want him to go head to head with my pick, who I will talk about a bit later on, because it'll be fantastic to watch. Someone like that. Again, it was him and Rose last year, Ryder Cup teammates, friends. Obviously there was an absolute load of pressure on the line, so it didn't take anything away from that moment. But if you have a little bit of rivalry heated in there and sprinkled in there, it'll make it even more interesting. So yeah, be interesting to see. I think it sets up perfectly for him this week. Hopefully he is nice and dialed in. And then the next big name, we are sometimes PGA Tour biased on this podcast. And we try and sprinkle in as much live golf as we can to make it even because there are some massive names over at live, and those are names that we're definitely going to have to pay attention to this week. And the biggest of them all is, of course, Bryson DeChambeau. I think we spoke off camera the other day about Bryson in South Africa just a couple of weeks ago, how ridiculous that shot was. You weren't on the podcast when we sort of reviewed that. Me and Ollie Barrett talked about his heroics over in South Africa. Bryson DeChambeau's coming off back-to-back wins on live. He's playing arguably as good of a golf coming into a Masters as he ever has. It always feels like Bryson sort of gets up and running into the middle of the year, and that's how he's managed to pick up his 2 US Open victories. He likes the Masters, he doesn't hate the Masters, but it always feels like he can throw in a bit of a curveball. Bryson DeChambeau's a massive, massive name to watch, and he's actually above Rory McIlroy at 10-1 in the odds standings as things currently sit. How do you reckon Bryson's going to go this week?
Yeah, Bryson's in one of my sort of negative picks, as we'll talk about in a bit. But I think if he doesn't do which I'm sort of predicting him to do, yeah, he's got a great chance. He's playing unbelievable golf. But he's done this before. He did this in I believe he did this in 22 and 21. No, 21, when he was on a bit of a heat at the start of the year, and he said the par Augusta Nationals is past 68, and then he proceeded to miss the cut and hit the ball miles off it. So I often worry about when players are in that much good a form, what they come and do here. I've seen McIlroy do it for years. DeChambeau's done it before. So I don't actually think he will be involved for some weird reason. I also think he'll have some demons to sort out from last year because he was really poor on the final day last year. So yeah, but again, you wouldn't be surprised on the flip side if he went and won, if he went and dominated. But Augusta National needs a little bit more finesse, and I don't think DeChambeau's quite found that yet. But I think he's getting better in that department and shaping his shots and using his brain a little bit more. I think it is going to. I think DeChambeau will win a Masters. Will it be just yet? I don't know.
Maybe not to the extent that McIlroy had, but that my biggest thing and worry with DeChambeau is if he's putting too much pressure on himself.
Mm,
I feel like um, I feel like the Masters is and like we just said, it's the biggest event that you can win, so it's no surprise. But I feel like he puts extra emphasis on this golf tournament. It was
mm,
cringy as hell, but I think he was getting interviewed on the green in South Africa, and the guy interviewing him basically had interviewed him the last 2 weeks, and he'd won those last 2 weeks, and he was like, "Oh, I need to bring you to Augusta, man," and I was like,
mm,
"Oh, mate, like." Come on, like obviously I know that's his personality, but this guy's like begging it for lack of a better word,
mm,
and he will be putting pressure on himself for sure. It'll be interesting. That's my biggest concern with Bryson because I do think he's playing good golf, and I don't think he's dumb enough to just start chopping it round on Thursday and Friday. If he's going to chop it round, I feel like it might be a bit of an underwhelming, like it was last year. He was 2 shots off the lead going into the last round last year behind McIlroy. We were all set for a showdown, and it just did not happen whatsoever. Again, he famously got irritated with McIlroy not speaking to him on the final round, which is quite funny. Um, but but yeah, it'll be interesting. And oh my goodness, how fun would it be to see a rematch there and into Sunday? So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching Bryson this week. I'm not a massive Bryson DeChambeau guy. However, he's done some things the last few of months because going back to even to the Masters and even the last few weeks on Live where I've gone, that is absolutely ridiculous. That shot the other week is absolutely ridiculous, as we spoke
mm.
about. Um, and it's shots like that that we want to see. He was chipping in from short-sided areas last year at the Masters. He was holding 50-foot putts. It didn't feel like the stereotypical performance that you need to go and win, like you said, a bit more finesse, a bit more structure to your tee to green game. He didn't have that last year. If he has that this year, I feel like he's going to have a chance. It'll be interesting. Bryson, if he has a sniff. Okay, those are the three biggest names. And sorry to anybody who's been left out. We're going to kind of pivot back in, but I feel like those are the three big names heading into this year's Masters tournament, and we've covered them all in decent detail. What we're going to do now is just touch on some names that I've highlighted as outsiders and people who obviously are going to have a relative say when it comes to the coverage this week. Going to have a little word on them, and then even some more players. Again, we haven't got time to go in depth into every single player that is shorter than 50 to 1, say. So we're going to sprinkle some more in there and have a little talk about them. Someone who's also shorter odds than McIlroy is John Rahm, past winner. He's 10 to 1 as currently things sit. He lost out narrowly to DeChambeau's heroics over in South Africa. John Rahm, how are you feeling going into this week for John Rahm?
Good about John Rahm. I think he's the sort of player that isn't going to be like hot every week, but he will turn up for the big ones and play well. He's given them a go the last few years. One on Live this year, close coming in with DeChambeau, 1 in 23. I think there's a lot of good reasons why Rahm will be up there. He absolutely nukes the ball. He's got the finesse. He's got the structure to his game. He's got an unbelievable mentality. Yeah, he's heated, which I like. He's fiery. Um, and yeah, I think he'll be unbelievably confident going into this week. And I would like to see him win. So yeah, John Rahm definitely a tick for me.
Be interesting. I'd like to see him win, but it's kind of one of those ones where I have seen him win before. Again, I don't mind who
Mm.
wins as long as we get an entertaining Sunday, you know. And Rahm was one of those where he kind of just cruised away down the stretch and showed his class. Again, as the someone who looks into it, I'm not someone who dives into detail as much as maybe other people. Again, data driven. We're going to talk about some interesting data statistics in just a moment, but John Rahm's a power fader of the golf ball, and everybody who sort of again, this is why lefties set up so well around Augusta is because obviously they play that cut, and that sets up well for a lot of holes around that golf course. But John Rahm's kind of the opposite. And okay, yes, he makes up for it with his flair and his short game prowess, which is obviously absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, he's still a power fader of the golf ball. So if you're just looking exclusively at people who draw the ball this week, just remind yourself that John Rahm and Scotty Scheffler, who have been dominant around that golf course of late, are not necessarily of that ilk. It'll be interesting to see
Mm.
if he goes well this week. Matt Fitzpatrick is a popular pick for us English people and fans coming into this week. People think he's the hot hand. He hasn't actually played for 2 weeks since he obviously won at Innisbrook a couple of weeks ago. New and improved iron game, Matt Fitzpatrick. What are you reckoning?
Yeah, again, another good chance. You try and think of players who you can see winning around there, and I think Fitzpatrick is. I think he's different from the other Europeans. I think he's so statistical, he's so meticulous, and I think it suits him. He hasn't gone that well the last 2 years, but he played well this year. He should have won the Players. He sort of messed up that last hole of the Players, and I think he learned a lot from that final round from the Players. So yeah, I think Fitzpatrick is again another really good bet.
I agree. I almost echo everything you say there. I feel like if I see a European coming down the stretch, and I'm going to trust them to hold on. Matt Fitzpatrick, I mean, you don't win the US Amateur as an English lad, like skinny as hell, 18, the whole probably country wishing that it was probably one of their lads who picks up the US Amateur
Mm.
a few years ago before he wins on that same golf course at the US Open, which is incredible. But um, you don't do that unless you've got a set of stones about you. And I think Matt Fitzpatrick definitely does. Again, he got slagged off by Ollie Barrett and got called a neek. So a few weeks ago, and then I'm pretty sure you followed it up with another comment of your own. But again, that's kind of based off his appearance and the way that he goes about things. Having said that, though, I do feel like he's definitely got a decent bit of steel about him, and that will come in handy if he's in contention down the stretch. And then one last name, who again is a name on everybody's lips. We're just sort of pulling out past winners from the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. But Cameron Young, again, I just said about John Rahm maybe not setting up and fitting the golf course stylistically as a player as much as you could do. Cam Young, who's someone who's a hot hand, he's the players' champion, and he's a power drawer of the golf ball. Who, again, historically, people who move the ball right to left a bit easier than others love Augusta National. And Cameron Young is coming into this one in red hot form. He's good, solid record in the Masters the last few years. What are your thoughts on Cam Young?
Yeah, Cameron has to be again confident coming in. Again, we like the Masters likes a players winner. Shuffler did it in 24, McIlroy did it last year. They won the players and then they're going back up with the Masters. I do think Cam Young's cold. I think he's got a set of bollocks as you just spoke about for Fitzpatrick. He's calm, he's collected, he doesn't get over the top. Everything's sort of, we're going to say it's about like loads of players, or everything suits them to win. I think it'd be nice to see him give it a go. He hasn't really had a run at the Masters. I sort of had a look back and I see he had a run at the Open. He's had a couple of other little runs, but I think could he get on a heater? Could he do it? But is he big enough personality to go and win it at such a place like the Masters? Maybe. I suppose we'll see. But yeah, amazing golf swing, amazing golfer, yeah, another good chance this week.
Yeah, yeah, no, I do agree. And off the back of the players, he's always been someone who, as we said, gets on the like a bit of a Fleetwood character in the sense of he'll get on the Sunday heater, but not quite get over the line in the biggest events. He'll turn up in all the biggest events, get on the Sunday heater, finish second, finish the top fives, what not. But getting over the line has been Cam Young's thing, and he figured out how to do that in the biggest event of the year so far, a couple of weeks ago. So yeah,
Mm.
heading into this week, you've got to have a look at him, and you've got to sort of fancy him. If you're not fancying a past champion, Cam Young has got to be one of those people that is right up there with a chance. Okay, then we're just going to sprinkle in a few more names, and then we are going to come on to our long-awaited predictions. Okay, because obviously we have skipped over a good few names there. Just a few that caught my eye in the sort of from 20 to 50 to 1 sort of ballpark when it comes to favourites out there on the golf course. Again, pick up on any of these, so I'll just throw some of these at your names. We've got Justin Rose, we've got Ludwig Aberg, Robert McIntyre, your guy Brooks Koepka, and then almost his doppelganger Chris Gotterup in terms of playing style. Those five names sort of caught my eye as people who were not necessarily short in odds, but you've got Justin Rose at 33 to 1. I mean, again, he's coming off the back of a fantastic run last year. Had one of my favourite press conference answers ever yesterday, as I saw that when I was going to bed. He answered a question on missing out 3 times at the Masters and 2 times in the playoffs. One of my favourite answers I've ever heard, and it just made me more of a Justin Rose fan. So I'll definitely be reposting that on our socials today. Hopefully, you'll see this probably before that podcast goes out. But yeah, Justin Rose, massive fan. And as I said, Aberg, McIntyre, Koepka, Gotterup. You want to follow up on any of those picks? And again, we might speak about someone who you're going to pick in just a few minutes' time. But
Yeah.
if you can do that without speak about them without revealing.
No, I mean, if you just did you say Reed? Xander Schauffele's been top 10 the last few years. Yeah, Rose was like, but Max Home has been in the top 20 the last 2 years randomly, but he's been shite this year. Um, Again, yeah, they're the sort of ones I think about. I also want to mention Aberg, but again, I don't see him winning. But these are guys who have gone well the last few years. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that just adding into those, and as I said, I'm not going to give away who I'm going to pick, but I just mentioned it a few moments ago. Like Robert McIntyre, yeah, can I see him winning the golf tournament? It's going to be a stretch. But you probably couldn't have seen Mike Weir or Trevor Immelman winning the tournament. Even a name like Charles Schwartzel, who was in his prime, but you probably wouldn't have gone into that golf tournament. Imagine Charles Schwartzel would have picked up a Masters victory. Danny Willett. These are players that you wouldn't have seen picking up a win. And if there's ever going to be one of those players when we turn around and Robert McIntyre's won the Masters come Monday, we should have gone, bloody hell, we didn't expect it, but he was actually one of the more informed players.
Mm.
So it's worth at least mentioning his name because, as I said, that's going to be a theme of my picks. I need people who are playing well right now. I've been absolute shite when it comes to picks the last few weeks. Look into it. What have they done on this golf course last year? I need you playing good golf right now if I'm going to pick you, and Robert McIntyre definitely fits into that equation. Your guy Brooks Koepka. I mean, just a note on Brooks. You got any hopes for Brooks this year? And again, don't
My,
reveal if you're going to pick him and be a base.
my approach to Brooks is like not to think or mention him and then hope he wins. And then just say like, yeah, I caught like he's my guy. Like I'm more of a fan this week, except for like backing him. So like, I'm just gonna fanboy Brooks
Yeah.
like behind the scenes, except for like picking him, put him under added pressure that he doesn't need. I don't see Brooks doing anything really, but I love to see him. I'd love to see him too.
Lad, you absolutely ripped me for McElroy being the biggest fanboy, and you are the biggest batty boy when it comes to Brooks at the moment. Like you are absolutely kissing his ass,
Mm,
and
mm.
now you're in my camp. I literally did this for 10 years when it came to McElroy, especially the last five. Like, oh,
Yeah.
don't say he's gonna win, don't say he's gonna win. Like, oh, you proper copping out.
Yeah, well, McElroy been on better form. I mean, Brooks has been awful. So actually, using my head, I'm not going to pick Brooks. Um, yeah, I'm not going to pick Brooks.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, again, he's played there a good few times, so obviously the odd, and he's an elite player, so obviously the odd time he is going to run it close. But he has had a couple of close calls at Augusta, and he should have maybe done a couple a bit better with
Mm.
some of the opportunities that he's had. So again, if he's in position there, we say Brooks is this animal, and he doesn't really lose when it comes down to it. And I do massively agree with all those things. But of course, and this has come back to that Justin Rose answer just a moment ago. Of course, there's going to be moments where things don't go your way. And things haven't necessarily been going Brooks's way round Augusta. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets himself in that position. I would bet he doesn't. Okay then. We are now going to move on to our predictions. Okay, we are going to go through a few sections and we are going to build our way up to our winning prediction. I have no idea who you're going to pick. Ben probably has an idea who I'm going to pick. But I'm really interested to see who Ben's going to pick because if you guys have been listening to the podcast on a regular basis, Ben has been dialed when it comes to his predictions. And if you've got any sense about you, yes, I'm the only one who's picked a correct winner to this point. But if you've got any sense about you, you should be listening with anticipation to who Ben is going to pick for this year's Masters tournament because the chances are they're going to have a chance come Sunday. And that's all we ever ask for when we make these predictions. So we are going to talk about predictions in a moment. We are going to go through our winning score prediction. We are going to go and predict our flop of the week. Okay, someone who might underperform this week. We are going to predict a heater of the week because obviously it's our prestigious award. We're going to predict an end of round one leader, an outsider, a sleeper pick, which is someone who people aren't talking about that much, but definitely could win, and of course our winner. Just before we do that, and I'm going to motor through this stat very very quickly, okay? And I just thought maybe if you haven't already made your selection, Ben, this could play into it, okay? But again, statistically, and I can't take credit for this. I saw this on Ways to Golf, quite a good page to follow if you like keeping up to date with all things in the golf world. I saw this interesting stat. The last 8 out of 8 Masters winners have all been in the top 30 in the official World Golf Rankings. They finished in the top 15 in one or both of the last 2 majors. They've had a previous major top 5 finish. They've had a previous top 25 finish at the Masters. They're in the top 25 ranked in strokes gained tee to green, and they're in the top 50 strokes gained in approach. And that leaves you these names to pick from this week. So these are if the last 8 Masters wins are anything to go by, this leaves you these names, okay? Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Cameron Young, JJ Spawn, Matt Fitzpatrick, Bob McIntyre, Xander Schauffele, who we haven't mentioned today, and again he's definitely could be a factor this week. Russell Henley, Sepp Straka, Harris English, Victor Hovland, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, and Adam Scott. Ben, is your pick to win in those group of names?
Yeah, yeah, he is. That's interesting. Yeah, everyone I was thinking about
In,
are in those names, I suppose, which is why they're the elite players, and you're going to pick someone that's sort of in the elite category. But it's an interesting stat.
yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, so the winner will come from that group of players. I strongly believe that.
That's interesting. That is interesting. And so is mine. Mine is in there as well. Okay. All right then. Coming on to our predictions, we're going to whiz through them nice and quickly. You guys have waited long enough, and we're going to whiz through them nice and quickly. Ben, what do you think the winning score is going to be this week?
I think it'll be 14. It does dip on the
Do
final
you?
day when everyone shits themselves, but uh, yeah, I think someone will go low, and I think it'll be 14, and I think someone will deserve to win and get on a proper heater. So you know what? Yeah, we're gonna go 14.
Do you know what? I've gone more ambitious than that. I'm going 17 under, and I'm going more
Really?
in line with
Wow.
yeah, I'm going more in line with my winner, and I'm thinking, how does my winner win? And I kind of got to 17 under, which might give you a
Yeah.
clue as to who I'm going to pick. Um, Flop of the week. Who is someone? And again, we'd like to be nice and negative on this podcast sometimes. Who is someone who we have high hopes for who's going to underperform this week? Who do you predict is going to underperform this week?
I'm going to stick to what I said earlier. I'm going to think Bryson really missed the cut. Yeah, I'm going to say he's going to miss the cut, and I will be made very wrong. But when he puts himself under this pressure, when he does all the talk and he plays while coming in, he finds a way to mess it up. And yeah, I think he'll go wrong. So I think he'll be my flop of the week, and I will be on to him on Monday if he does miss the cut.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Again, Bryson, boom or bust character. I don't actually have a name for flop of the week. It's a bit of a cop out, and I don't know who to predict. Um, I genuinely, my unbiased hat was coming off, and I was thinking about McIlroy because I just think it could.
Hmm.
It's going one of two ways for McIlroy this week. I don't think we're going to see like a 15th, 20th place. It's either he's got a chance or it's a 2-day job and watching the weekend. I really do believe that. Um, However, I've literally changed my mind as I'm filming the podcast, so I can't pick McIlroy anymore. I haven't written him down, but he was definitely a name on my lips. I was going to pick someone like Ludwig Aberg, but he's actually been playing decent golf. Like I know we take the piss out of him for not winning, but he's actually been playing decent golf.
Mm.
And and again, he's had a couple of good tournaments around Augusta. So to say he's going to be flop of the week and going to miss the cut is a bit outrageous. And then you've got names like Colin Morikawa, who's recently been injured. He's sat there at 40-1. Again, if he wasn't injured, he'd be a lot shorter than 40-1. So I feel like if you're going to have a bet on someone to miss the cut, I'd be really confident in Morikawa if you're fancying a bit of a short price. But again, he's a lot a bigger price, sorry, but he's a shorter price than he would have been if he hadn't have hurt himself. So I genuinely don't have an answer for flop of the week. It's a bit of a cop out. I don't know. I don't know. So you're coming in with Bryson. Fair enough. Obviously, the other award that we give out is Heater of the Week. Who could get on the biggest heater? I've been a bit dumb and put two different names for this category and our next category, which I probably should just do the same one. In fact, screw it. I think I'm going to do that, but I'm going to put my other name in there as well. I'm going to go first on this one. I initially put Heater of the Week as Minwoo Lee because I can just see as someone is just getting on a bit of a breezy heater for no reason. But that also means that Minwoo Lee's got to have a really solid week. I mean, sometimes you can heat yourself up so much you actually accidentally put yourself in contention for the golf tournament. Do I see Minwoo Lee picking up a green jacket this week? Probably not. So again, it would infer that he's going to get up there at some stage this week. But yeah, I put Minwoo Lee, but I might change my answer to my round one leader pick because I do actually have massive faith in my round one leader pick. But yeah, I'm going with Minwoo Lee initially.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good pick. I'm gonna go Scotty, getting a little more standard. I think he'll be on a final day heater. I think he'll probably be too late, but I can see him going absolutely deep on one of the final 2 days and put himself into contention and get strings of birdies and eagles coming in. That Tiger, that I watch highlights of like Tiger in 2011 do sort of go like 6 under through nine. I think he'll do something like that when he's like 6 shots, 7 shots off. So yeah, Scotty will be my heat of the week prediction.
Yeah. Who do you like as a round one leader?
Round one leader, I'm going for Bob McIntyre. I can just see like a European player just going low early and everyone getting on the bandwagon like they did for Rose so many times. I can see McIntyre being 6 or 7 under first round and leading. So
Good pick. We've got the same thought. Again, I should have this guy as my outsider. I should just fucking have a set of stones about me and pick in someone who's going massively under the radar for me. Again, especially when you put my winning score quite high and infer that the golf course is playing relatively easy. I like Nikolai Højgaard to lead after round one.
mm,
Again, you tune in on Thursday. I mean, I'll be coaching a lot of Thursday night and you maybe get home and you check the leaderboard and you see that someone like Nikolai Højgaard's gone round and shot 65 or something like that to be leader or leader by one, it just absolutely wouldn't shock me at all. And Nikolai Højgaard, again, I'm picking people who are playing good golf right now, and Nikolai Højgaard is definitely doing that. He's a drawer of the golf ball as well. His golf swing screams draw. Again, stylistically setting up for the golf course. I think Højgaard's got a good chance, and he should really be my outsider pick, but I've kind of copped out. Speaking of outsider picks, outsider means anybody outside the range of 50-1. Ben, who is your outsider pick for this week's Masters?
I do think he is 50-1, or he's very close to it. I'm going to go. We've already spoken to him about him. He's on that list you just said. I'm going to go JJ Spawn. He was not in anyone's mind going into last week. He's won. He's in good form. He knows how to win. I think he's got a really good chance, and I like JJ Spawn. So yeah, JJ Spawn's an outsider.
You love JJ Spawn, and
Yeah,
he's more than 50-1. He's more than 50-1 on Sky Bet
I
from what
do.
I've seen. I mean, again, I don't know whether they're going to adjust the prices to placing prices in the next couple of days or so. But I think I saw JJ Spawn as high as 80-1, and
Mm.
I definitely had a little look at him. And again, yeah, it's a nice cheap, easy. JJ Spawn playing good golf. Let's go. Let's do it. Got good confidence. Let's go. Let's do it. His form before that would scare me a little bit, but again, sometimes it's as easy as who played well last week. Let's just pick them, and JJ Spawn would be that guy. I'm sticking true to my one of my ones to watch that we picked on episode one of the MJPJ podcast. And I'm actually quite happy with some of my picks because in there I picked Harry Hall, who's teeing it up this week. I picked Michael Thorbjornsen, who isn't, but he's had some good weeks and some disappointing moments because he put himself in good moments. And my last one to watch was Jake Knapp. And Jake Knapp is on a heater. He's playing some really, really good golf now as Jake Knapp. And I just see him just again Augusta. He just screams Augusta. He's a cool looking guy, very chill. And he was in contention for my heater of the week pick or round one leader as well. I think Jake Knapp's got a good chance this week. Have a little look at that sleeper pick. So someone who isn't being talked about but could easily win. I am buzzing with my pick, which means that they'll miss the cut. But this is actually one of my favourite picks of the entire tournament. Ben, you go.
I've got two names. Really annoying. I can't really pick the one. I'm going to pick one of them. Someone that's not been talked about. Someone who's won two or three times on the DP World Tour this year. I'm going to go Patrick Reed. Maybe he has been spoken about, but you might have picked him as well. Did well last year. A great player, won at Augusta. The other pick I was going to think was Justin Thomas, who has gone back from injury and done well, and I've never seen him at Augusta, so I thought he might be a little good one. But Patrick Reed's my sleeper.
He's mine too. He's mine
Yeah.
too. Um,
So
but do you know what? No, no, no. This is good because it gives me at least hope that my predictions are somewhat right. Because as I said, you've definitely been leading the predictions leaderboard so far. So Patrick Reed, I was buzzing with Patrick Reed when I sort of saw the price that he was at. He will be responsible for some of my hard-earned money come Thursday. I'll just let you guys know that. And this is the big one as we sign off on this podcast, our biggest podcast to date. Thank you all so much for listening. Um, Benjamin Hartshorn, who is going to win this year's Masters tournament?
I can't believe I'm picking this guy after I've criticised him. I've called him names. My colleague has called him names. I was very close to Ram just because I just can see it. But I can see this guy winning. I think this guy is different. I think he's built different from the other Europeans. And I can't believe I'm picking him for a Masters. I've seen other sort of content creators and golf YouTubers pick him, so it sort of influenced me a little bit. So I'm gonna go Matt Fitzpatrick for the Masters. It'd be unbelievable if he did. Um, I can just see it. I can see him going well. I think he's got it. I think he's got the nitty gritty to do it. I think he learned from the players. Yeah, come on, Matt Fitzpatrick.
Matt Fitzpatrick propels himself to, I mean, this is outrageous, but second best English golfer ever. I mean, with a win, US Open, Masters, his DP World Tour credentials speak for themselves. If he wins come Monday, that would be absolutely incredible. And I feel like again, you want people in good form heading into this golf tournament. 2 weeks off kind of scares me a little bit. I know he's done that deliberately, so obviously he's not doing it just to deliberately make himself rusty. But 2 weeks off is a bit of a weird one. Coming off the back of a win, though, you've got to fancy it, and I've got no problems with that pick whatsoever. As I said yesterday, I've put my giveaway post out there. All aboard! We're going Bryson. Bryson wins this week. Bryson wins this week in a shootout with either Scotty, McIlroy, or Rahm. We see though both of those guys. We see a duel, a match play style duel, and Bryson wins by one or two. At 17 under par this week. I just see it. I think that
Mm,
you could make a case he's the best player in the world right now, and his record round Augusta isn't that bad. Okay, he's thrown the odd bad one in. Bryson wins this week for me. I've said it the last 3 weeks. I'm not coming off it now. I'm not changing my mind. Let's go, Bryson. And for those of you who've seen my giveaway, anybody who comments Bryson DeChambeau or anyone comments a player who finishes above Bryson DeChambeau, you will enter a draw on Monday to win a block of golf lessons. So obviously, if Bryson does win, we won't be giving away anything. It'll roll over to the US Open. But yeah, looking forward to that, the PGA Championship even. But looking forward to that and looking forward to all things golf this week. Ben Harson, thank you very, very much for hopping on this morning and doing the podcast. We hope you enjoy the golf this week. Thank you very much for your co-hosting commitments over the last few weeks. Ben's got to go to work. I've got to go and do some work. So we will sign off for our Masters Preview podcast. And thank you to all of you who are listening, subscribing, interacting with us. We look forward to hearing. Send us your picks. Send us your picks. If you disagree with us, if we're idiots, let us know. And we look forward to speaking to you all over the weekend and then back on Monday for our review. We will catch you next week and enjoy the golf. We'll see you then.